I'm Lloyd Bonson and welcome to Anglesey for rounds 4, 5 and 6 of the Mazda MX-5 Championship.
Two races at Snetterton got the season underway. Tom Roche heading the field away off the line from fellow front row starter Oliver Allwood. Simon Baldwin headed the chasers as Roche built a big lead, and that was 8 seconds at the checkered flag. The returning champion happy with his season opener. Not happy with their opener here for race 2. Baldwin and Breland making contact, the latter going off into retirement. But as you can see, the action once again continued right the way down the field and well into the second race. Second position became a big issue. Simon Baldwin and Oliver Allwood racing well for that as Roche made it a double and Baldwin just edged it for second place. The championship standings then coming to Anglesey looking like this. Tom Roche ahead of Allwood and Baldwin, tied on 194 points. Michael Fisk is 4th from James Harris, then Paul Tucker. Brian Trott 7th from Clive Powers, Paul Bishop and Simon Woods. The postponed race from Snetterton taking place here at Anglesey, and the front row of the grid, Richard Collins and Lewis Field, William Stevenson immediately behind. Chris Hart making good progress early on as well, but it was Lewis Field that got away in car number 61. Richard Collins from pole down in second, and then William Stevenson in third place. Big bouncy moment there for Paul Austin. Always a worrying time here at Anglesey, but rejoins back in front of Simon Orange. Jack Brewer and Sam Bailey having a great fight as they go up the hill. Really, I've got to say, Anglesey a complete contrast to where they should have run this race at Snetterton. Snetterton, by and large, flat circuit. Lots of twists and turns as there are at Anglesey. Spin there for Russ Lindsay, who thankfully did recover. But Anglesey, lots of undulations, as you'll see from the various shots we've got here. Anthony Hutchins and Chris Hart very much enjoying their race. Great move by Hart around the outside of the man from West Malling in Kent, but all to no avail because ultimately Hart takes a spin, ends up facing the field. Cracking battle on though for the lead. Collins and Field side by side for much of the time. Collins here right of shot, still challenging Lewis Field, the 29-year-old from Sheffield. And just look at Collins here. Determination on that outside line and reclaims the lead, which was to be a three-way fight at this stage of the race. Stevenson still involved in the mix as well. Lewis Field down to second. Some logic in the numbers there, 61 and 62 side by side, and having a terrific fight for that second position and allowing Richard Collins to make a little bit of a gap away into the lead. Second place, well, a little bit of contact perhaps there. Half spin for 61, Lewis Field. He rejoins and starts battling again, and as you can see, Jack Brewer coming up to join in the 93 car. Brewer was to attract a time penalty in the final result, which would drop him well down the order, sadly for him. But exciting stuff to watch nonetheless. Russ Lindsay picked it all up, as you can see, so did Chris Hart right behind him. Oliver Robinson there having a big wide moment, going out on the dirt and allowing Lindsay and Hart through on their respective recoveries through the field. Hart has a look down the inside. A little bit too much speed carried into the corner, winds up on the grass, tries to bring it back on again. You can see looking across to make sure that he can rejoin the circuit safely. Meanwhile though, Richard Collins was the man who took the checkered flag. Lewis Field in second position. Third across the line was Jack Brewer, but third being inherited by 291 Martin Canning. Collins takes the win. Lewis Field got the fastest lap. He was second. Martin Canning third from Anthony Hutchins, then William Stevenson. Sam Bailey ahead of Jake Bailey. Danny Green in 8th from Simon Orange. And Oliver Robinson in 10th. 11th, Matthew Simonite from Paul Austin. And then Andrew Adams, Ivan Leary, Jack Brewer reclassified 15th from Russ Lindsay, Joseph Neroy in 7th from Adam Craig. Oliver Allwood on pole position with Tom Roach. Then it's Clive Powers and James Harris, row 2. Third row, Simon Baldwin and Paul Tucker, followed by Richard Breland and Brian Trott. Josh Jackson and Paul Bishop, row 5. Michael Fisk and Matt Tasker, followed by Martin Tolley, Will Stevenson, Lewis Field and Richard Collins. Simon Woods with Patrick Collins, then Jake Bailey and Paul Bateman. Jack Brewer and Sam Bailey, followed by Martin Canning and Michael Close, completing the grid on row 12. So, with our previous event now concluded, we're away for the first of 6 races here at Anglesey, and it's Roche leading from Allwood. Good start from Roche from P2 on the grid. A very crowded field, as you can see, and as you would expect, coming into the banking, which is the hairpin for the first time. Martin Tolley in 23 looks down the inside of Matt Tasker. Car number 34, first meeting of the year for Matt, wasn't at Snetterton. Very close racing going on in front. They go around the super fast right-hander at Church and then head up the hill into the Rocket Complex. 101 there in orange is Simon Woods, the man from Sutton in Surrey. So this is the complex. There is Simon Baldwin in 48, joint second in the championship. Michael Fisk is there as well. Fisk is 4th in the championship. So a big battle on for championship positions between those two. And it's Baldwin in the blue car holding sway at the moment. In car again with the Solihull racer Martin Tolley. A very physical circuit, this one. And today the car's using the International GP circuit, which is the longer configuration here at 2.1 miles. 2 very, very long straights. Bring them back down into the final corner of the lap. And as you can see, this is actually part of the older circuit here at Anglesey, which was reconfigured very, very successfully, I hasten to add, a few years ago. So coming down into the final turn and along the pit straight and down towards turn 1, where they are now. It's Tom Roche, the championship leader, up front from Ollie Allwood. Allwood here will be consolidating that second position in the standings if they stay the way they are. Allwood 10 points down on Tom Roche in this one, but it's the Blendini man that leads at the moment. Those two at present pulling clear of James Harris, who's in 3rd place. Harris is 5th in the championship standings. The black and yellow car back in 3rd position, but Allwood and Roche very much away with this one at the moment. Roche in the 125 car comes from Cardiff, the other end of Wales. So a fair old journey for him to get here, the 29-year-old, and had 2 wins at Snetterton to open up his campaign. But Oliver Allwood, as we saw, was present on the podium both times. Ollie comes from Godalming in Surrey, 36 years of age, and really putting Roche under a fair bit of pressure at the moment. Good battle then for the lead in our first of the Group A races. And just a reminder, in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship, that qualifying, that the entries are so large in this championship that the grids have to be split in 2. The top half of the grid in qualifying form Group A, and they score the championship points appropriately for the top half of the race points that are available for each round. And then the bottom half of the grid will then have their own race, which is Group B, which we'll see shortly. We've had a change now on for that 3rd position. So through go Roche and Allwood, and as you can see now up into 3rd place is the green car of number 18, Clive Powles. So Powles is now up into 3rd, but significantly he's got a big train of cars behind him, so he can't rest on his laurels here. So Powles in 3rd, having claimed 3rd position. James Harris immediately behind him. Leamington Spa racer chasing the man from Ulverston in Warwickshire. Simon Baldwin, I think, did he pull a position off there? Certainly in the mix is Simon Baldwin. There is Richard Breland, who we saw having that DNF in the 2nd Group A race at Snetterton. So he's hoping for better luck here, and Breland coming under pressure from Simon Baldwin. Baldwin's got the outside line coming into Rocket. That won't necessarily work for him unless he can hold on. Back ahead of them, James Harris in 37. Precarious position for the photographer to stand there. Harris at the moment with breathing space over the battle that's going on behind him. Coming through Peel corner, named after the DJ, the late DJ, John Peel, who did his national service here. Brian Trott in 88 is in the mix as well, trying to close down at the moment on Richard Breland. And as you can see, the green car of Clive Powell's actually now starting to have a little bit of breathing space over James Harris. So this is on the GP loop, the far end of the circuit, and they then, having negotiated one long straight, have another long straight which brings them back down into the final turn and onto the main straight again. Some good passing opportunities on this. Today using the longer circuit, bypassing the notorious but very well liked corkscrew corner, which is the short circuit, so it is a chance for these drivers to race on a different configuration. Simon Wood's getting stuck in there. Michael Close on the inside line. He's gone and tags the back end of Sam Bailey. So Bailey goes around, everybody else doing some very good avoidance, but the problems as well for Jake Bailey. A very prone position. Thankfully everybody manages to avoid Jake, who I don't know whether there's enough damage on the car to cause a retirement. We'll have to wait and see. Michael Fisk, though, in this group, still Clive Powell's at the moment in third position. So these cars all effectively in with the shout of third place, coming through Church Corner. Massive climb up the hill now, and you can see from the camera. And once they get to the top of the hill, they've got to go left into Rocket, then right to come down towards Peel, as we look at Brian Trott ahead of Richard Breland in car number 81. And then right behind them, it's Michael Fisk in the number 8 car. So third position now is between Simon Baldwin, who is chasing Clive Powell's. As we look at Brian Trott, third position here with this group could go any way, but still out front, Tom Roche and Oliver Allwood, with James Harris running in third position, and more for you after the break. Welcome back to Anglesey Circuit. We're looking at the scrap for third place at the moment, held by Clive Powell's in green, ahead of the blue car of Simon Baldwin. So good battle between those. Down the road, though, the race leader still Tom Roche with Ollie Allwood fighting it out. It's a job to know which battles to look at. Richard Breland down behind Michael Fisk at the moment. Then we've got the 88 car of Brian Trott. So some good battles there. Is 37 going through. James Harris. Oh, and off goes Powell's. Powell's goes wide, kicks up the dirt, and will lose a bit of momentum. And Ollie Allwood now has his nose in front. The red car 63, Oliver Allwood in front at the moment. Tom Roche has lost the lead. So the Blendini Motorsport man down to second, but will fight back. Cracking racing going on then up front. Allwood also has the fastest lap of the race as well. So these guys go through the first part of the infamous corkscrew here. They're using the longer circuit today, the GP circuit, coming up to the further reaches, and a look down the inside from Roche, hard on the brakes and goes through. Great move by the multi-champion. Tom Roche goes through. Oliver Allwood relegated to second, but we know from the start that we saw that Tom Roche capable of holding on to the lead, but we know that the fact that Allwood got himself back up inside, he can do it. He's also got the fastest lap on lap 3. 1 minute 48.081 for Allwood. Losing a bit of ground at the moment, but he will regroup, I feel sure, and start to come back on the man from Cardiff. Meanwhile, we dip down a little bit further down the order. Jack Brewer, who we saw in the extra. It's a busy weekend, isn't it, for the likes of the Class B boys, or the Group B boys from Snetterton. Wind up with 4 races this weekend, a reward for a very long trip for some of them. to come here to Anglesey. We've got Simon Woods in orange in the mix as well, and Woods manages to get ahead of the to the head of the group that are chasing Brewer at the moment. Patrick Collins is in the mix as well. Richard Collins is there. Richard, of course, who won that first race that we saw, the rerun, and some of these guys you'll recognise from being in the Group B, the final Group B race from Snetterton. So they've done well to get into this. Is the top half of the entry time-wise from qualifying at this meeting, and of course coming into this race they've had a little bit more track time than the others. Now that can be a bonus. It might, I guess, make them a little bit weary, but certainly we're seeing some good racing from them at the moment. Patrick Collins there at the minute chasing Simon Woods and Jack Brewer, and this is, I think, for 14th position looking at the lap charts. Matt Tasker's in the mix as well. William Stevenson looks up the inside, passes Tasker, needs to get the move done before they come into the complex. There's Patrick Collins, 50 years of age, from Esher in Surrey, and the age demographic of drivers is huge in this championship. So too is the geographic spread of drivers as we go back to the race leader. Tom Roche is going to, if he hangs on to this, make it a third win on the bounce on his return to this championship. Oliver Allwood is chasing hard and still has the fastest lap. We go back to Michael Fisk there, up ahead of Paul Bishop, who's on the outside line of 88, Brian Trott, and a spin for Richard Breland going on to the last lap. Breland taking a moment to recover. That might be a non-finish for him. Wipers on from the man, I was going to say in second place, but the leaders' wipers go on as well. And this is a tricky circuit for the wet with all the undulations that we've got, but Tom Roche is used to anything that can be thrown at him. So too is Oliver Allwood, still in second place and piling the pressure on. They'll come out of this race on equal points because it's 2 points for the fastest lap and 2 points separating each finishing position. So the gap between Roche and Allwood will remain at 10 points if things stay the way they are. That's if Roche doesn't get the fastest lap and if Allwood doesn't claim the overall race lead. But they're coming along the GP loop, as it's known, for the last time. This is where Roche reclaimed the lead a couple of laps ago. Still there, wide line, not under pressure. Goes around that hairpin, back end wanting to step out just a little bit. He's on the limit. Allwood now has only got the opportunity to perhaps dive down the inside coming into the final turn. He's keeping it tighter, but now goes back out wide. They've got waved yellows. Allwood knows he can't mount a challenge there, even though he was perhaps close enough to do so. Big waved yellows for Richard Breland's car, and there's the checker. Tom Roche takes the win from Oliver Allwood. Who's going to get the best of the battle for third, which has been an intriguing one? It's James Harris in 37. Clive Powell's, after his moment off, Richard Breland gets away from the car to safety for him, not safe for the car, but it's Tom Roche that makes it 3 wins out of 3. A perfect start to the 2016 BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship for Roche, who wins from Ollie Allwood, who got the fastest lap. James Harris third, then Clive Powell and Michael Fisk. Paul Bishop sixth from Brian Trott. Paul Tucker and Simon Baldwin. Paul Bateman in 10th. 11th went to Martin Tolley from Josh Jackson, then Lewis Field and Simon Woods. Jack Brewer 15th, ahead of Martin Canning and Richard Collins. Matt Tasker from Sam Bailey and Michael Close. Jake Bailey next, and the finish is completed by William Stevenson.
Yeah, it was tricky then. It was wet, obviously, this morning in qualifying, so then to go out in the race and it being dry, it was a bit like just trying to find your way around, really. And but yeah, got a good start. I managed to just jump Ollie on the start and pulled away a bit, and then I think I was being a bit careful, really. But Ollie was quick and caught me and then got past, and I managed to get back past again. But it was good fun.
Yeah. Race 1B, and very, very difficult and wet conditions here. Chris Hart starts on the outside of the front row. Bruce Carter was alongside as we look at Ben Hansey in car number 40. We saw him once last year, and good to see him out again, the Northamptonshire-based driver. As you can see, big field, and this the lower half of the qualifiers. Car number 56 is Bryn Griffiths, the man from Horsham in Sussex, but it was Bruce Carter leading in the early stages. Kevin Brent from third on the grid up to second. Chris Hart is in third place. Jack Wary looking on the inside line there of Simon Orange in 67. Wary in 132, of course, was in the A group for the second race at Snetterton, which is why we didn't see him in the earlier rerun race from Snetterton. And as you can see out front, it is Kevin Brent in charge of this one. Bruce Carter in 75 running in second place. The relatively local circuit here for Carter. I say relatively, Alton Park would probably be nearer to Birkenhead than Anglesey, but it's a run along the North Wales coast for him to get here, and it's a fine view if you ever come and visit the circuit. Ivan Leary nips up the inside line there of Paul Austin in car number 30, and you don't need me to tell you that conditions are very difficult indeed, and off circuit goes Ivan Leary, a very, very long way off on the grass. And this is, of course, why we have such decent runoffs here. A very, very well designed circuit, Anglesey, and well worth the visit, as we've said before. If you've not been, it's a terrific place to come and watch. Great place to come and race as well. Russ Lindsay there in 17. Paul Austin coming under a little bit of pressure. Matt Pickford is on his outside line, three wide as they come out. Oh, and a massive sideways moment there for Jack Wary. So Jack Wary, a good recovery, I've got to say, back on the gas fairly quickly, but dropping down the order just a little bit. Ben Hansey now to his outside line in car number 40, and Wary, you can see again the back end wanting to break away. It's happening on lots of cars. Gyration there for Simon Orange, who's on the grass. It's not going to do them any favours, of course, when they get back on. We've got another car off in the background there. Nick Riley there to the outside line is going to chop back and go on the inside of Matthew Simonite. Simon Orange very much involved in the mix as well, and all of those guys battling hard to try and break into the top 10 of this first Group B race. Bryn Griffiths then, and Matt Pickford joining us at this meeting. You might remember him racing last year, comes from Buckhurst Hill in Essex, and I used the short version Buck Hill because I've known a couple of racing drivers from that area. But there is 41, the man that's going to take the checkered flag. Kevin Brent wins the Group B race and significantly, of course, moves up into Group A for round 4 of the championship, along with Bruce Carter, who was second. Adam Craig third, Chris Hart fourth. The last of the men to move up into Group A is Andrew Adams. Darren Stapleton was sixth from Russ Lindsay. Matt Pickford, Jack Wary recovers for 9th. Bryn Griffiths in 10th from Danny Green and Paul Hughes. Then Simon Orange, Ivan Leary 14th from Oliver Robinson. Matt Simonite from Anthony Hutchins. Paul Austin, Ben Hansey and Joseph Nerai in 20th place, non-finish for Nick Riley. And after the break, we'll have action from rounds 4 and 5. Welcome back to Anglesey. The cars are lining up for race 2B, but first of all, here's a look at what happened in race 2A. Another great start by Tom Roche, leading away from Ollie Allwood. Looking up the inside there is Paul Bishop. Powell Trott and Fisk all in the mix. Baldwin to the outside line. Inevitably a little bit of contact as they went up into Rocket for the first time as they sort themselves out. Fisk now being challenged by Baldwin there. 42 in the mix is Paul Bateman. But Roche and Allwood once again at the head of the field. A spin for Messrs Harris and Tucker. Paul Tucker ultimately going to retire from this race. James Harris getting it back on track. Contact there. Baldwin loses his bumper. It seems to be lodged under the front end of Joshua Jackson's car. Meanwhile, back into the race, and Simon Woods, who was tagged in that incident that wound up with the bumper coming off, is back and running. Chris Hart in 22 making good progress up through the field. And here on the inside line of Martin Canning. Back to the race leaders though, and Tom Roche out front. Oliver Allwood, as you can see, challenging him absolutely resolutely all the way through this race. Roche, though, of course, knows how to lead. He knows how to pass to take the win. We go back. We've got the battle on here between James Harris, who's in 5th place at the moment. In behind him, Simon Baldwin. Michael Fiss in the mix as well. And as we edge towards the closing stages of this one, Allwood piling the pressure on the race leader and goes for a move here on the outside line on the Grand Prix loop, past the stricken car of Paul Tucker. And Allwood now dives down the inside. This is the last corner, and there's contact between the two. Allwood barges his way through, takes the lead and takes the checkered flag, but in the overall result gets docked a place for that. So Roche takes the win. Allwood second and fastest lap again. Then Clive Powles and Paul Bishop from James Harris and Simon Baldwin. Michael Fiss 7th from Richard Collins, Simon Woods and Brian Trott. Then it's Jack Brewer and Paul Bateman from Bruce Carter, Martin Canning, Lewis Field, Chris Hart, Sam Bailey, Martin Tolley, Kevin Brent. Adam Craig demoted to Group B for the next race, along with Matt Tasker, Andrew Adams, Joshua Jackson and Paul Tucker.
On set.
Michael Close on pole position for race 2B. Jake Bailey is alongside them, William Stevenson and Richard Breland. Followed by Patrick Collins and Darren Stapleton, Russ Lindsay and Matt Pickford on row 4, Jack Wary and Bryn Griffiths on the 5th row, followed by Danny Green and Paul Hughes. Then it's Simon Orange and Ivan Leary. Oliver Robinson and Matthew Simonite ahead of Anthony Hutchins and Paul Austin. The grid completed by Ben Hansey, Joseph Nerai and Nick Riley. Michael Close in white with the black and red stripe gets away from pole position. Richard Breland from row 2 gets away well. So too does the man alongside him, William Stevenson. Through turn 1, everybody through safely. This incidentally a restart after problems for Nick Riley on the first start, but everybody this time away cleanly through the banking and heading down towards Church for the first time. Now remember, the aim of this race, obviously, to win and get up to the top, but it's the top 5 positions in this race that will join Group A for race 3 of our triple header here. It's been a quadruple header for some of the drivers, having their extra race from the postponement at Snedson in round number 1. And we're in car with Jack Wary, first-year driver, looking up the inside line of Darren Stapleton, another first-year driver. And Hazardous Jack, as he calls himself, goes through on the inside line. Is he going to go past? You can see new driver insignia on both of the cars. The great thing about this championship is it's very easy for new drivers to measure their progress, because the aim is, obviously, if you're brand new to motor racing, the likelihood is you're going to be in Group B for the first meeting or so. Climb up the order in Group B, get your first go in Group A. You start at the back in Group A if you climb your way through, and then work your way up to the front and join the likes of Oliver Allwood and, of course, Tom Roche at the head of the field. But it's Richard Breland leading, goes out of shot. William Stevenson second. The battle for third at the moment headed by Michael Close in white. And then Jake Bailey, his fellow front row man. There in 17 is Russ Lindsay, who has a big tech slapper there coming out of the final turn. Collects it all up. Cars going everywhere at the moment, off onto the grass. Nobody getting any big damage by the look of it, although getting a tad of a shake-up, which will perhaps dislodge some cars, but they'll all get back into the groove. Patrick Collins in 99 on the outside line here and having a side-by-side run down towards Church with Jake Bailey. The meat in the sandwich now, and Bailey, I think, about to be passed by Jack Wary in 132. And the Bristol man has to give best there. He's got right behind him, he's got the 47 car of Darren Stapleton. So meanwhile, we go back to Patrick Collins. I say back, it's actually forwards in terms of race position. Look at that climb as they go up into Rocket. Patrick Collins here ahead of Jack Wary. Now, what's Wary going to do? Is he going to have a look as they come down into Peel? He's certainly poised to maybe point the nose of the car down the inside. And has he got space? Yes, he has. He goes through. on the curbs, very neatly done. Quick look in the mirror to see where the others are. Look at the view here. They won't stop and take that view in, but they come down into the left-hander. If you're using the shorter circuit, you'll go right where the cones are, down into the corkscrew, but the drivers aren't doing that here. It's up onto the GP loop, and we're looking at the third position car at the moment, Michael Close, and now Jake Bailey going on the outside line of Russ Lindsay. Russ Lindsay coming through from 7th on the grid, so he's had a great start. Darren Stapleton started 6th on the grid alongside Patrick Collins. The race leaders breaking away, Richard Breland and William Stevenson, so they'll be looking to rejoin Group A. So Michael Close now, dropping down, and a little bit of contact going on there, and Jack Wary manages to read that well and nip through. Quick look in the mirror, both sides, to see if anyone's coming through, and that's trademark of the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship. You've got to have eyes in the back of your head as well as the ones looking forward. So Jack Wary in the mix. There is Patrick Collins, followed by Jake Bailey in 14, the 16-year-old from Stratford upon Avon. And that underlines what I said about the very wide age demographic in this championship as we go in car with Michael Close, 29 years of age from Ashington. And look how close it is up front. Superb place to learn your skills in this championship. So Jake Bailey at the moment holding that third position. Michael Close having dropped a little bit down the order, but has got the inside line heading up into Rocket. Jack Wary still on the outside line. He likes the outside going into Rocket. Does Wary, and it does tee him up for the inside for the second part of Rocket before they head down towards Peel. That's the straight that they're on now. Darren Stapleton up ahead of Simon Orange in 67. And it's still Richard Breland out front. Breland with the fastest lap on lap 2 of this one, 1 minute 49.7. So Breland looks like he's going to join the top group again in car number 81. He was in the top group for race 1 at Snetterton, where he took 6th position, and then had that retirement in the first race here, and a retirement in race 2, and contact there. 47 goes round, not what we want to see. Big damage on the front end of Darren Stapleton's car, and Simon Orange it was that was in contact with him, sadly. Danny Green in treble 1 looking up the inside line. We're into the closing stages of this race, and it's been a physical one to say the least. Jack Wary is running at the moment there in 6th position. There in 25 is Ivan Leary, who had a very wide moment, you might remember, in the wet B1 race earlier on. And Ivan, who started this race on the 7th row of the grid, 14th, the outside of the 7th row of the grid. Michael Close looking to go down the inside line there of the 99 car, Patrick Collins. Simon Orange in the mix still as well. So Close has got the outside line as they head up into Rocket. Jack Wary is up ahead of them. Oh, and contact on from 25. Ivan Leary gets on the back end of that car as well. I tell you what, the stewards are going to be looking at this footage after the race and maybe applying some decisions. Bryn Griffiths in blue continues. 2 more cars off the circuit as well. Massive wallop there. And out goes the number 16 car of Matt Pickford. So Matt is another retirement from the race, but here's the leader, Richard Breland, who'll be absolutely delighted to have taken the win. The race being stopped early, as you can see, red flag, but the checker will be shown as well. Richard Breland takes the win from Will Stevenson. Jake Bailey, Russ Lindsay, Patrick Collins rejoining the A group. Jack Wary just misses out. He's 6th. From Bryn Griffiths, Matt Simonite, Oliver Robinson and Danny Green. Then it was Anthony Hutchins and Paul Hughes, Ben Hansey, Joseph Nerai in 14th place, and a couple of exclusions in that race to add to the non-finishers.
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. It was very hot out there, but I mean, I had a problem in the A race yesterday, which has pushed me into the B race. So Bling Motorsport done a fantastic job fixing the car, so it was really just a bit of a test session. But yeah, happy to take the win.
So with the guys coming out onto the grid for race 3A, we're going to take a look back at what happened in race 3B. Pole position went to Adam Craig from Matt Tasker, but it was Joshua Jackson who came through into lead position. There he is going up the hill on the inside line. Meanwhile, behind, the Group B boys, as ever, putting on some terrific racing around the 2.1 mile Anglesey International GP circuit. And this to be the last outing of the weekend for the second half of the grid. The aim, of course, again, to go through and score as many points, but no repercussions for the top 5 in the last Group B race of the day. They don't get relegated or promoted in the last race. They go into the next meeting with a clean slate. Up the inside, Matt Tasker through and past Bryn Griffiths there, and trying to close down on Adam Craig. Craig having started from pole position. Meanwhile, action between Michael Close and Oliver Robinson. We go in car with Michael Close at Rocket, looking to try and find a way up the inside. Hoping to join in as well is the 67 car of Simon Orange. Down behind them, the white, blue and red car of number 80. Anthony Hutchins trying to get in on the act as well. The car's coming down from the GP loop. Griffiths now having a look at Adam Craig. But meanwhile, battle continues up in front of him, and now Danny Green coming under pressure from Anthony Hutchins, who goes round the outside. Superb move from Hutchins around 67. Simon Orange, can he hang on to this? He's got his nose in. Let's see whether he can again brave it out on the outside of the Peel corner. Oh dear, spin there for car number 66, Nick Riley. That's going to put him down to the back end of the field. But there is Josh Jackson, who takes the checkered flag for his first race win. Second goes to Bryn Griffiths. Josh getting fastest lap as well. Paul Tucker next from Adam Craig and Matt Tasker. Paul Austin 6th from Matt Simonite. Then Andrew Adams and Anthony Hutchins. Simon Orange 10th from Oliver Robinson and Ivan Leary. Danny Green 13th. Then Ben Hansey. Michael Close 15th from Paul Hughes, Nick Riley and Joseph Nerai. Well, here's the grid for our last race, and it's Tom Roche on pole with Ollie Allwood alongside Clive Powles and Paul Bishop, followed by James Harris, Simon Baldwin, Michael Fisk and Richard Collins. Simon Woods alongside Brian Trott, then Jack Brewer and Paul Bateman, Bruce Carter and Martin Canning, Lewis Field and Chris Hart, Sam Bailey with Martin Tolley, then Kevin Brent and Richard Breland, William Stevenson and Jake Bailey, Russ Lindsay and Patrick Collins completing the 24-car grid. And we are away here for the last time. The weather is back to exactly how it should be after some wet races early on, and it's Tom Roche that leads them away. Good start by the championship leader, Ollie Allwood in second. Clive Powles is there in third place. As you would expect, busy through the banking for the first time. Great place to watch these cars. So many good vantage points around the circuit here at Anglesey. 62 is William Stevenson. And again, I take my hat off to the BRSCC for this great format of splitting the field into the two groups. 75, Bruce Carter is busy chasing. Remember, he was in the B group for the first race and came through to join the A group, stayed there in the second race as well. Martin Tolley on the outside line of Martin Canning there. Also there is Jack Brewer in yellow as well. Jack Brewer having had the whole meeting in Group A. A little bit of a moment off the circuit for someone ahead of us, but we stick with Simon Woods. Round the outside goes 42, Paul Bateman. Bateman's going to have the inside line for the next corner. We look back, there he is back in white. Meanwhile, it's Tom Roche leading, but not getting away at the moment. Clive Powles is putting some pressure on. We've got Paul Bishop in the mix as well, challenging Powles for that final podium position. But at the moment, it's Roche leading from Oliver Allwood. Let's see whether Ollie can go for that dive down the inside that we saw him do on that previous race. Roche with 4 wins from 4 starts and looking pretty good here for another one through turn 1 and heading up towards the banking once again. Allwood second, Clive Powell's in third place. Then it's Paul Bishop in car number 44. Bishop, and another ever-present in Group A. The man from Lincoln running in fourth position at the moment now. And here comes Oliver Allwood down the inside line to take the lead. Into Church. Allwood goes through and past Roche. But we know that Roche is capable of a fight back. So are we going to see another classic BRSCC MX-5 Championship race here? It looks that way. One of the cars kicking up the dust in the background, but we stay focused on the battle for the lead. And it's Roche going up the hill into Rocket. Not challenging at the moment. He's just watching Oliver Allwood at the minute in 63. Has a slightly different line there through the second part of Rocket, but he's got to be mindful of Powell's right behind him. And Powell's is now putting the pressure on, and it looks like building up a little bit of a gap at the moment is Oliver Allwood, stretching it out to 2 or 3 car lengths over Roche. Let's see whether Clive Powell's, though, can go through. So Powell's in P3. Are we going to see Tom Roche defeated for the first time? Look at the gap now that Oliver Allwood is starting to put in. Allwood's had the pace all weekend. He's had fastest laps. Simon Baldwin's having a look at the 44 car, back in 5th place. So Tom Roche then, still there in second position, will still lead the championship. Even if he finishes in second place, the gap between the two is 10 points here. Bishop now up into third place, and coming through is going to be Powell side by side. Powell's has got the inside line here. Bishop on the outside. Powell's knows if he can hang on. He can't hang on to it. Bishop reclaims that third position. This is good racing, and Oliver Allwood is stretching the lead over Tom Roche. This is great for Allwood. Roche is going to potentially drop 2, maybe 4 points here if he stays in second place. Paul Bishop looking for his best finish of the season here, had a 4th position in the previous race, and is now looking for second place on the inside of Roche. Goes through, and Powell's goes through as well. Roche does not look happy. Simon Baldwin's going to come through as well, and Tom Roche is dropping right the way back through the order. The multi-champion, the championship leader, is dropping away. He's passed by another car as they go up, so he's still gamely carrying on. Now, is it going to be the pits, or is the car going to maybe get nursed home by Tom to perhaps get a top 10 finish? James Harris is through, car number 37. Harris chasing Baldwin. Still got Clive Powell's running in third position. We go in car with James Harris coming down from Peel, getting ready to go up onto the GP loop here. Through that left-hander, about 90 degrees worth of corner there, very slightly uphill, a little bit of a run downhill now on the oldest part of the racetrack here. This used to be the back straight on the old configuration here at Anglesey, and they'll go on to what was the main straight. It was a very difficult circuit to commentate on previously. The commentary box was just about where you can see the little wind turbine on the infield. And Oliver Allwood is away. Tom Roche is still running. You can see in green towards the back. They go past the old pit entrance there on the right-hand side, but what a great scrap we've got on for second. Clive Powell's has it at the moment, and we're looking at the battle for second position ahead. Simon Baldwin at the moment is in P4, immediately ahead of us. And James Harris, what can he do? Baldwin dives to the inside line on Bishop, goes through. Harris is going to try and go through on the inside as well. Clive Powell's is coming under pressure too. This is good racing. Bishop goes wide, 3 wide out of the banking, coming down into Church. Bishop drops back behind Baldwin. So it's Bishop, Baldwin, and then Harris that we're on board with. And Tom Roche is out of the race. The championship leader is out of the race. Now that is very significant because the drop scores don't come into effect yet, and it means that he won't be top of the points if Ollie Allwood finishes. And that's significant because Allwood will get an invite to the European MX-5 Championship at Barcelona in July. Mind you, Allwood's still got to take the race win, and we'll see how that pans out. But for the meantime, we're very much focused on the battle for second place. Clive Powell's in green, holds second. James Harris looking up the inside line, so too is Baldwin in blue. Simon Baldwin in blue is running in third place. James Harris is sniffing all over Baldwin for that third. Powell gets a little bit of a weave on there to try and defend second position. He's not overly weaving through Church for the last time. Oliver Allwood's going to take the win. Powell's has got the fastest lap of the race, back on lap 8, and it's Powell still there in second position. But here comes Simon Baldwin, who's looking for that outside line, which converts to the inside at Rocket. Can he go through? And into second, he's pointing the car up the inside line. Powell is still there. Baldwin hasn't quite got enough momentum to go through into second position, so Clive Powell hangs on to it. And James Harris back in 4th place at the moment. This is a fine, clean race between these guys. Here we go in car with Harris again. Harris here still gunning for that 3rd position, coming down the hill out of Peel into the first part of the corkscrew onto the GP loop. We're looking at the 48 car, Simon Baldwin, the 48-year-old from Reigate in Surrey. But there's the leader. Ollie Allwood is well clear, over 5 seconds clear of Clive Powell. Exits the GP hairpin for the last time, past the old pit wall that you can see there on the right of shot now. Still in second position is Clive Powell. Simon Baldwin is in 3rd. It looks like that's the way they're going to finish as Oliver Allwood comes through onto the straight, and there's the checkered flag. Oliver Allwood becomes the first man to depart. And there's a sideways moment for Baldwin. Baldwin goes on the dirt and through. Into 3rd place goes James Harris. Harris takes 3rd place. Simon Baldwin is in 4th. So it was Allwood from Clive Powell, James Harris, Simon Baldwin in 4th position. Powell's getting fastest lap. Richard Breland, great drive through for 5th from Brian Trott. Then Paul Bishop and Simon Woods. Paul Bateman ahead of Richard Collins. Martin Tolley in 11th from Lewis Field. Martin Canning and then Sam Bailey, Patrick Collins, Kevin Brent. Bruce Carter 17th from Russ Lindsay, Jack Brewer, Chris Hart and Jake Bailey in 21st, completing the finishers here at Anglesey.
Yeah, it was a little easier than last time round, but that's courtesy of Tom Roach losing his gearbox. So, you know, it's a shame I didn't get to go toe-to-toe with him. But, I don't know, I've done a pretty good job today, so I'm pretty happy. I'm just going to enjoy the win.
On the championship standings, leaving Anglesey, Ollie Allwood leads the championship from James Harris, Simon Baldwin 3rd from Clive Powell and Paul Bishop, then Brian Trott and Simon Woods, Tom Roche 8th, Paul Bateman 9th and Martin Tolley in 10th.
Well, it's been a crammed programme today of racing here at Anglesey. The weather's been fantastic, the action has been good. Hope to see you again at the next round in Solder.